All right, let's jump into the menu system on the Super Elite. Let's take a look at the octal screen. So using the navigation buttons here on the left-hand side, we'll go ahead and press the Enter button, which is located down here on the bottom, and that'll open up our menu system. We'll start with markers up at the very top, and I navigated up using the up arrow, and I'm going to go ahead and press the Enter button again to enter into that. Using this interface, I can send different markers to my timing software by simply selecting either gun or split. Once I'm ready and I'm starting the race, I'll go ahead and press enter, and it will mark that time as well as send that to my timing software. Next, I'll head to split, do the same thing. And if you're testing pre-race or you had a false start and you need to reset, selecting clear doesn't actually remove any data from the box. All it would do is go ahead and clear out the counters on the front display that we just showed you just a few minutes ago. This will actually reset that and send a clear back to your timing software as well. So we'll head back and we'll head to the status menu. This provides a quick overview of our antennas and memory on the system. Right now we have 8 ports here, and so you'll see them indicated vertically here on the left and the right. With these 2 columns, as you start to connect antennas, these will fill in with white circles just to show you a visual representation of the physical antenna cables that are connected to the reader. With the memory on the right, you'll notice as memory increases, you want to be sure over time to make backups of all of your data. This box can hold hundreds of thousands of tag reads. That's not a concern as far as having multiple races on this box at one time. That's not a problem. But just keep an eye on this over time as you start to use the reader more, so that you're making sure that you've got sufficient amount of memory. Next, you'll see the speaker icon currently is muted. And what this is indicating is our buzzer. Internally, we do have a buzzer in this box so that as readers cross over the mats, you'll start to hear the internal buzzer go off every time they do that. So want to make sure that that's turned on if you prefer, and we'll show you how to configure that in the menu system here. Because after a period of inactivity, you'll notice the screens start to slide along. It goes into a power saving mode. So if I just press any buttons here, that'll refresh the screen as we just saw there. Next, we'll head to the setup menu. And within setup, this is where you can do a lot of the configuration here on the box itself. So to get started, we'll head to the network section. By default, this is set to DHCP. If you would like a static IP address, you would want to go in and unselect this. It would go ahead and turn off the DHCP functionality, and then you'd be able to define those IP addresses through the dashboard software or through our web interface. The VPN, if you need to use a VPN to connect multiple readers on the same subnet, this is the way you would turn that functionality on and off. And then if you have a need to restart the network, let's say you've connected new devices or you've added a network connection after booting up the reader, this is always a great thing to do. Go ahead and click Restart Network. That will refresh the local area network ports and redetect any new attached devices that are on the reader. If we head to servers, we offer our different methods of connection. This is through our active timing as well as our reader cloud that we offer here at Active. So here you can turn these on and off. And if you have a third-party service, you'll see the server and the port listed here that the reader can communicate with over the network. So if we head back, we'll head to Files. And this is where you can go ahead and actually manage the files that are stored on your reader here. Obviously, wanting to make sure that you have backups of everything first before you clear out anything. If you'd like to include line numbers for first scene, last scene, we go ahead and enable that so that gets written into the files that we record. And now we'll head to time. For those of you who are not using our GPS attachment for time or not using an external internet connection to grab time over the NTP servers, the manual time setup here within the menus allows you to go ahead and set these up, and you'll hear it beep as you go into the menus. And as you can configure this, it will set up that time and set it locally here. If you'd like, you can also connect multiple readers together and choose sync. And as long as the Ethernet cables are connected from reader to reader, you will be able to share this same time that you've set here across multiple boxes that you have. Now if we head to the race screen, this allows us to configure some of the more detailed settings about our race setup. Our radio frequency output here is currently set to max, but if you have a special environment, you can go ahead and configure those different levels of output. In the mode, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. We have the X for default, P for primary, B for backup, and A for announce. This is important with those multi-line races or races where you have lots of different readers throughout your course. And then for the buzzer, if you'd like it to buzz every time someone crosses over the antennas, we'll go ahead and turn that on. And then sleep mode is something that, as you set up the readers on race day, if you've got things configured, you want to save some battery prior to the race, you can go ahead and turn that on, but you want to make sure and disable that before you go ahead and get your race started. Last but not least, we offer profiles here in the setup menu, and that allows you to go ahead and store multiple profiles in our web interface where you can define the IP address, subnet mask, and instead of messing with the primary profile that's configured perfectly, you can go ahead and create profile 1 and profile 2 as backups here. So you can navigate through these, and as you switch, you'll notice that the IP address changes. That way you can plan things ahead of time, and then on race day, instead of having to connect and mess with settings, all you need to do is simply switch between those profiles. As we back out of the setup, we'll head to the help menu. This is where you can get some more information about your reader. You can see this current firmware version, as well as all the rest of the firmwares that we run across all the different display hardware in our system. And then if we go ahead and go to codes, as you're using Active Reader Cloud, there are codes that will be necessary in order to utilize these services. So if you're using gRPC or Active Reader Cloud, this is where you'll be able to access those so that you can add them. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I really appreciate you watching. Thanks so much.